Occurred, October 18, 2001 22:30 Location, Bedford, in shape, rectangle duration, 15 minutes craft searching a field. I was out in the county, going to a spot my friends and I like to part at. I was driving around the corner before Devil's Backbone, when I saw it. At first I thought it was an airplane, the airport's only a few miles away, but something about it wasn't quite right. I pulled off of the road at an observation spot for the Backbone, which looks out over a valley. I could see the craft hovering down there, then it would fly up higher. I would estimate that it never got higher than a few thousand feet, as I could still make out individual lights. It almost seemed to be flying a search pattern. It just went back and forth, high and then low. It seemed to be moving slowly, ground speed-wise. I am pretty familiar with the area where it was, and I know about how much ground it covered. It took about 2 minutes to make one pass over the valley, which is only about half a mile across or so. It flew by 7 or 8 times, then just took off like a rocket. It disappeared from my sight in about 10 seconds, but there wasn't much noise. I don't know if what I heard was the wind or the craft. I do know that right before it left, I heard a train approaching the Tunnelton Tunnel, which is very nearby. I could hear the whistle, probably a mile or 2 from me.
Occurred, October 25, 2004 2100 Location, Bedford, in shape, circle duration, 2 consecutive nights. Interesting moon view with telescope, unknown objects. On October 23, 2004 I purchased a telescope from Walmart, a 5-inch Meade with a lot of buttons on it. I spent a couple of days trying to learn to use it and took it out the following night. I didn't really know where to start or what to look at, so I just decided to check out the surface of the moon. It was really amazing to see all the surface features, craters, etc. About an hour had went by of gazing and trying the different powered lenses. I zoomed in on the moon using 25mm eyepiece, which will focus on a 300 to 400 square mile area of the moon. I started noticing that about every minute and a half or so, sometimes one but mostly in pairs, little black dots would go by as if it was some type of plane orbiting the moon. The moon was full. At first I thought that it was satellites that circled the Earth passing in front of the moon. But then I realized that this would have to be something orbiting the moon itself due to the multiple times that these objects traveled the exact same path. The next night I decided to look at the moon again. Oddly enough, I saw the same black dots, mostly in pairs and slightly staggered, but sometimes only one. I watched this for about 30 minutes, probably 12 to 13 times. These were very clear black dots, and any satellite between here and the moon would not be this clear and so small. So I wrote some emails to astronomers and asked, thinking it would be something easily explainable. The response I got back stated that anything orbiting the moon would be too small to be seen in a telescope, and also they knew of nothing currently orbiting the moon. I've looked at the moon a dozen or so times since and have not seen anything.
Occurred, September 18, 2008 000 Location, Bedford, in shape, triangle duration, night. It was late one night heading into town with a friend. We was headed eastbound on an average night, going to the store. Couple miles from the nearest town. All of a sudden what I believe to be identified as a black triangle, UFO, was sitting about 50 feet above the tree line. It was triangle in shape, with 3 red rings glowing red on the bottom of the corners. There was no sound at all. What felt like forever, however, it shot off to the southeast in seconds. To this day I don't know what it was, but always keep an eye in the sky.
Occurred, July 25, 2012 11:30, entered as July 25, 2012 11:30, reported, July 25, 2012 11 hours 37 minutes and 38 seconds PM 23:37, posted, the 8th of May 2012 location, Bedford, in shape, fireball duration, 2 hours 5 minutes. I heard a loud thud, boomish type sound, didn't think much of it. My younger cousin calls and says there's a helicopter on fire in the sky, can you see it? Which direction is it? To the west? Northwest maybe? I searched that direction, and seen a ball of glowing red light. I thought it might have been like a supernova or something, like when a star burns out, it then flashed pink and pulsed blue for a short time. Minutes later, what appeared to be a shooting star trailed the western sky, or 10 seconds maybe, then another. They both disappeared, then reappeared together parallel to each other and vanished again seconds later. My phone was charging in the house and that was my only source of photo recording device. I got the phone back, though it's prepaid. I have 3 short videos and 1 picture. Low quality, but you can definitely see it. As I was video recording it, something passed by with a similar shape of the TSR-71 Blackbird, or a stealth bomber. What seemed to be a spotlight came on and off. It flew low, maybe 1,000 feet, then vanished. Blinking stars seemed to appear in a triangular pattern, then everything disappeared.
Occurred, September 21, 2013, 1900 location, Bedford, in shape, sphere duration. 1 minute was sitting on porch and saw a black floating sphere floating over some trees in distance. It then had a teal blue light flash and started lowering into trees while flashing. The closest thing it resembled was a beach ball, and the lights were where the white part of ball would be in 2 sections and the rest was black. I saw it flash one last time through some trees and birds started flying away and it disappeared.
Occurred, November 25, 2016, 1900 location, Bedford, in shape, sphere duration. 1 minute plus my dad and I watched 5 orange orbs in the sky southeast of Bedford for just over a minute. They were not moving a lot, and during that time, 4 of them faded from view, or may have been obscured by clouds.
Occurred, September 30th, 2005, 2200 location, Mitchell, in shape, light duration. Hours while camping at Spring Mill State Park on Friday, September 30th, 2005, my 2 children, ages 14 and 22, saw what appeared to be an extremely bright star in the night sky, around 10 p.m. Our point of orientation was just above and just to the right of a large spruce tree. Because it was so bright, we were observing it and trying to determine if it was a star or a planet. As we watched, it moved slowly up, then left, then right, and back down, but not as low as it had been. We were all amazed and watched intently for several minutes. It moved almost continuously, but not very much at one time. The pattern was never exact, but always up and down, back and forth. It reminded me of a balloon, with some type of brilliant light attached, tethered to the ground and swaying in the breeze. However, in general, it continued to gain altitude and move to the right. We watched it for nearly an hour and finally gave up trying to figure out what it was. I did not think too much more about it until the following night, Saturday, around 8 p.m. I thought about it as we sat around the campfire and asked my children if they had seen yet that night. As we all looked in the direction we had seen it the previous night, sure enough, there it was again. Some differences this time. It appeared to be farther away than the previous night and much lower on the horizon. It was much further to the left of the same spruce tree than the previous night. Also, instead of a brilliant white light, it had more of an orange cast to it. The movement was exactly as the previous night. It looked as though it was swaying in the breeze but steadily moved higher and to the right. This may have been some man-made object that I am not familiar with, and there may be a perfectly logically explanation, but I sure can't come up with anything.
Occurred, February 20th, 2016, 35 location, Mitchell, in shape, cylinder duration. God said end of times, not a UFO, but I did see a few, but God spoke to me and said end of times, and nobody gives a shit. The aliens come from God. He said every creature will repent to him. It's okay, nobody cares, so we're all going to die because of it. God spoke to me and said end of times, trying to get a hold of NASA, the government, the police department, and nobody gives a fuck, so I guess we will all die because of it. God is in control of the UFOs, but we're not supposed to be chasing them, we're only supposed to be worshipping God. God spoke to me and said end of times, and nobody gives a fuck. Some cool shit to look at. Bunch more pictures where that came from. Let me know if you're interested in seeing any more, or what God said. Photo credits go to God himself. I seen the devil too. Is that one above the motel room, the beast out of Revelations? Is that Jesus? God said we're in the end of times. Somebody should ask what else. God said photo credits go to God. Let me know if you want to see some more cool shit. Occurred, August 20th, 1967, 1830 location, Huron, in shape, cigar duration. 5 minutes while traveling west on Indiana State Highway 60. My ex-wife and I saw a cigar-shaped object hovering over the intersection of Highway 50 and IND Highway 60. We were about 1 mile east of it when I mentioned to her that the object wasn't moving. As we approached the intersection, it was still hovering about 100 YDS off to our left side above a house. The object made no noise, and was dark, metallic gray in color. It had several lights on it, but no windows. It was about the size of a small Piper Cub aircraft. Its shape was best described as a small boxcar-type military plane. It began to move sideways to the right as we pulled out onto Highway 50, and then disappeared over the hilltops. It did not make any noise and moved very slowly. As stated above, my ex-wife and I saw the object very clearly and drove ahead to my parents' house, which was about 2 miles from the sighting. We got a camera and went back, but never saw it again. We have told a few people the last few years but felt that we would be ridiculed by our peers if we spoke of the event. I have been a police officer all of my life and my wife was a homemaker at the time.
Occurred October 13, 2002, 1 o'clock. Location: Heltonville, in shape, light duration, 30 minutes. Pillars of light seen in Heltonville, Indiana. We seen 3 or 5 pillars of light coming either up from the ground or down from the sky. They were at least a half mile away and seemed to be at least 200 or 300 feet wide. We couldn't tell if they were coming from the ground or sky, and the lights went infinitely up. They never stopped and we couldn't see the source. But there is no explanation for them to be there. It was in a very remote area.